Diamonds hit the U.S. market in the 1940s with the famous slogan, "A diamond is forever." Today, they continue to be the ultimate show of affection when placed in a piece of jewelry. It's a gem that automatically signifies love, yet it's one that's also been tied to war and bloodshed. In the 1990s, the precious stones were used to fund a series of civil wars in West African countries like Sierra Leone. This event marked the creation of a whole new type of diamond, the blood diamond.
Diamonds are very small. They have a very high value-to-weight ratio. They're easy to smuggle. So unless you really put tough regulations in place, they were ready-made for money laundering and gun running and sanctions busting.
That's Ian Smiley, a conflict diamonds expert and international development consultant. Smiley started his career just out of college in the Canadian Peace Corps. He was sent to teach high school in a region of Sierra Leone where diamond mining was extensive. When civil war broke out in the country years later, he suspected diamonds were being used to fund the war. He then joined a Canadian NGO called Impact, which focuses on stopping the sourcing and trade of blood diamonds. The organization discovered that the rebels in Sierra Leone were stealing diamonds and using them to buy weapons.
The diamond industry at that time was very much unregulated. Nobody paid very much attention to where diamonds came from. But as the campaign grew, as it gathered steam in the late 1990s, the diamond industry and a number of governments began to pay attention, and gradually there were negotiations, and something called the Kimberley process certification scheme was established to basically keep tabs on and regulate the international trade in rough diamonds.
Smiley helped form the Kimberley process in 2003. The initiative aims to keep conflict diamonds out of the global supply. It defines conflict diamonds as rough diamonds used to finance wars against governments. Unfortunately, it seems the process contains a loophole that has left Russia's invasion of Ukraine go unchecked. Russia is one of the world's largest exporter of diamonds.
About a quarter of the world's diamonds are produced in Russia, mainly in the north, in Siberia and Yakutia. So, diamonds are a very important export for Russia. On average, annually, diamond exports are about $3 billion a year from Russia. And Russian oligarchs have their finger in the pie. 90% of the Russian diamonds are controlled by a company called Alrosa. Alrosa is a publicly traded company, so if you wanted to buy shares in Alrosa, you could. But a third of it is owned by the Russian government.
Because of this association, Alrosa is essentially helping to fund Russia's war on Ukraine. In recent weeks, the U.S. has banned the import of Russian diamonds. After the move, several big companies, such as Tiffany & Company and Pandora, showed public support for the ban. However, there's a loophole hidden in this move. Because Russia sends the majority of its rough diamonds to India for cutting and polishing, the country of origin is marked as India, not Russia. This allows the nation to still sell its diamonds on the global market. Smiley says more serious action must be taken.
The cutting and polishing, because so much of it is done in India, the diamonds couldn't be sent elsewhere easily. I mean, China has a small facility, Thailand has a small facility for cutting and polishing. A little bit is done in Israel and a little bit is done in Belgium, but mostly it's India. So if you put your thumb on the choke points, India and Antwerp, and also I should mention Dubai. Dubai is a very important up-and-coming trading center for diamonds. So you'd have to put some pressure on Dubai to make sure that they didn't simply move the markets, move the trade over there. But you could do a lot of serious damage to the Russian diamond export business with a bit of pressure on 2 or 3 major choke points.
But economically speaking, how would this more stringent ban on Russia's diamonds affect the industry? The pandemic has caused a steep decline in demand for the gem. Bain & Company reports industry revenue decreased by up to 33% in 2020, and some diamond mines completely shut down during the height of the pandemic. Diamonds are starting to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels, but cutting off Russia's contribution of 1/3 of the world's diamonds wouldn't help the sector's recovery plan, especially in Antwerp, Belgium, where diamonds are big business.
It would be tough on Antwerp. I have a lot of time and respect for the Antwerp diamond industry. They've changed their business practices and model over the last 20 years and become serious players in responsible diamond mining, trading, and manufacture. So it would be tough on Antwerp. It would probably raise the price of diamonds. I mean, diamonds have always been controlled.
Aside from Russia, diamonds are mostly found in Australia, Canada, South America, and Africa. Bain & Company reports the global diamond supply is still 20% below pre-COVID reports. It's hard to imagine the industry would want to risk a further drop in supply by cutting off Russia's contributions. But despite the loss in profits, Smiley says it's vital for leaders to take a hard stance against the war.
Well, I don't think anybody would want to cut their supply of anything that's coming from Russia, I mean, unless there's a good reason for it. I mean, we're very cautious about cutting supplies of petroleum products and gas and other things from Russia, but we're doing it. What we're trying to do is send a message to Vladimir Putin that he can't get away with what he's doing in Ukraine.
As of late April, the United Nations reports that more than 11 million people have fled Ukraine since the war began on February 24th. Russia has bombed several towns and cities, killing countless numbers of innocent civilians.
I think if you were to embargo Russian diamonds, you would send a very strong message, both an economic message and a political message, and not just to Russia, but I think to everybody who thinks about diamonds, because diamonds are symbols of beauty and love and foreverness and that sort of thing. For them to be coming from a country where the opposite is currently being practiced just doesn't seem to make any sense.
To find out more about this topic and our guest, Ian Smiley, head to viewpointsradio.org. You can purchase Smiley's books, Diamonds and Blood on the Stone, Greed, Corruption, and War in the Global Diamond Trade, online or at your local bookstore. Our writer-producer this week is Kristen Farah. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson. Coming up next week.
We have not built the institutions that allow young people to find their way through that maze of choices.
Navigating the post-secondary school process. Then,
that foreshadows some considerable disruption for farmers in the Corn Belt. Not many industries that I know of can handle a 40% drop in demand.
Will the increased demand for electric cars disrupt the ethanol industry? I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.